Hello everyone, welcome to sqadia.com. Today we are discussing cell cycle, and in this particular sections we are going to have a look on cell cycle checkpoints. So let's get started. So we're going to start off with the discussion of control of cell cycle checkpoints, and we are going to have a look on what are the different checkpoints that are present within the cell cycle so that the cell cycle or the interface in the mitosis, the whole cell cycle can be regulated in an efficient way, in an error-prone way, so that the daughter cells that are being synthesized as a result of mitosis, as a result of DNA replication, they are free from any kind of mutations, from any kind of damage, for any kind of variations as a result of mitosis. And then this would be followed by the discussion of what is the core of the cell cycle control system, and we are going to have a look on the what are the structural bases and the regulation of the cyclin dependent kinases. So we are going to start off with the control of cell cycle checkpoints. Over here you can see what happens in this particular case. We have a complete cell cycle division which is being triggered by the anaphase, and it proceeds to the cytokinesis, of course, as well. We have seen in the previous section how the complete cell division is being triggered after the anaphase has completed and after the cytokinesis has been done. So this would send signal for the exit of the mitosis, and we are going to see in the cell cycle regulation portion how the exit of mitosis is being checked by the CDC14 that plays a very important function in the chromosome segregation point. So nonetheless, the cell has been exited from the mitosis. Now it has two possibilities: either to go into the resting stage in case of the neurons, or enter the G1 phase where it is going to replicate itself in the form of the organelles. So it can enter into the S phase after it has acquired certain volume and certain organelles that have been formed. So what happens in this particular case, there would be entry into the S phase where the DNA replication machinery has been formed, of course, prior to the synthesis phase, so that when the synthesis phase initiates, the DNA machinery has already been present. We are going to see the formation of the pre-replication complex. We are going to see the MCM2 formation. We are going to see how they are being performing the helicase role, and all of these are being synthesized. They should be synthesized in the G1 phase because they are needed in S phase. So what happens in this particular case, the S phase, all of those proteins would be synthesized. So S phase would specify for the replication, for the origin of replication, in this particular case formation of the pre-replication complex. This would be followed by the movement of the cell into G2 phase and then enter into the M phase, of course, as well. So what happens is we have a metaphase checkpoint. What happens in this particular case, this particular checkpoint specifies that whether the chromosomes are attached to spindle or not. This would be followed by the G1 checkpoint, where it is seen that either the environment is favorable for the DNA replication to take place, either if there is any kind of presence of stress or absence of stress, either they play an important functions, already organelles have been replicated, the enzymes, the molecules that are required for the S phase have been synthesized or not. So this would, of course, result in the triggering of the G1 to S transition, and then there is an M phase checkpoint, which is a M phase where the G2 checkpoint, where the cell is going to enter into the mitosis phase. And in this particular case, this particular checkpoint is going to check two things. Of course, first of all, is the environment favorable? When I say favorable environment, I mean there should be absence of the stressful environment, so that DNA can replicate freely. Of course, there would be no types of mutations that can lead to the damage in the DNA. And of course, this particular checkpoint G2 is going to ensure that if every single gene, every single nucleotide on the DNA has been replicated or not. So moving on towards the core of the cell cycle control system, our next lecture, in which we are going to discuss the cell cycle regulation, is focused on this particular slide. So this particular diagram shows what is the core of cell cycle control system. We have a cyclin, we have a cyclin dependent kinase. This particular complex plays critical functions in the movement of the cell from one phase to another phase. So what happens in this particular case, cyclin is going to bind with the cyclin dependent kinase and hence would result in the activation. So CDK when bind to the M-cyclin in this particular case would cause the activation of the M-CDK, and this would result in the production of the mitosis machinery. When this particular function has been done, what happens is the M-cyclin molecule has been degraded in this particular case so that there is no M-cyclin with which the CDK can bind. So this would result in the activation of the transition from M to, of course, the either the G0 or the G1 phase. So in this particular case, when we are talking about the G1 cyclin or the S cyclin, they are going to bind with the CDK in this particular case to trigger. If we are talking about the S cyclin CDK complex molecules as shown over here, so it is going to trigger the DNA replication machinery, and after this process has been done, there is no need for the presence of the S cyclin. So what happens in this particular case, the S cyclin is going to be degraded, resulting in the presence of the free CDK molecule, which is again available for the binding with the M-CDK. So by the time S-CDK molecule was being binded, of course, the cell is very intelligent enough to understand this would be followed by the requirement of M-cyclin. So by the time the S-cyclin has been formed, the formation of the M-cyclin starts to increase slowly and steadily. So by the time the cell entered into the M phase where there is requirement for the M-cyclin is already present for the CDK to bind and initiate to trigger the mitosis machinery, of course. So talking about the structural basis of the CDK activation, we have over here this particular diagram has been divided into 3 different sections. We are talking about the inactive form of the CDK, we are talking about partially active, and then the fully active form. What we have over here, we have a T loop over here which has basically blocked the binding site from which the cyclin can bind. In this particular case, we are talking about the cyclin CDK. So what happens is when cyclin is going to bind it, there would be somewhat activation, there would be somewhat migration or movement of the T loop from a place so that the cyclin CDK complex is partially active, but it's not fully active because that particular T loop, that particular catalytic site is not being phosphorylated. So what happens in the next step, there would be formation of a fully active form of the cyclin CDK complex molecules, and this is done by CAC enzyme or cyclin activating kinase, where it caused the phosphorylation of the T loop over here, resulting in the activation of the catalytic site, where we can see that this particular cyclin CDK complex molecule is being activated now. So talking about the regulation of the CDK activity, this plays a very important function, and we are going to have an in-depth discussion of the V1 kinase and the CDC25 phosphatase in this particular case. So what happens in this particular case, we have a V1 kinase enzyme. So what happens is V1 kinase is specified for the phosphorylation at a particular step, and this particular molecule which will be phosphorylated for the inhibition would be tyrosine that is present at the 61 residues or the 16 residues. So what happens in this particular case, V1 kinase is going to cause the phosphorylation at the tyrosine residue, which is going to be inhibitory phosphorylation. This is going to be an inhibitory phosphate so that the cyclin, after being produced, it's present in an inactive form, so that whenever this particular there is a requirement for the activity of the cyclin CDK complex molecule, the CDC25 is going to take that particular inhibitory phosphate off, because it's a phosphatase, so it functions to remove, to chop off the phosphate from that particular portion. So the CDC25 is going to cause the removal of the inhibition of the CDK. This would be the case for the regulation of inhibitory phosphorylation, and there is the inhibition of the cyclin dependent complex by CKI. In this particular case, we are going to see the formation of the P27, which is basically the CKI, and this particular CKI is being produced when there is a DNA damage, where the P53 is being produced, which results in the activation of the P21, and P21 then recruits the activation of the P27, which basically binds the active and the catalytic site of cyclin CDK complex molecules. So there is no site available for the cyclin CDK complexes molecules to perform their action, to perform their activity, either cause the phosphorylation and followed by the ubiquitinylation and degradation, or result in the activation of other kinase molecules. So in this particular section, we started off with the control of cell cycle checkpoints, and we move towards the discussion of core of the cell control cycle, where we discuss this particular section would be the basis of discussion in the coming section, where we are going to discuss the role of cell cycle regulation, and then we discuss the structural basis and regulation of cyclin dependent kinases. So that was all for this particular section. Thank you for watching sqadia.com. I'll see you in the next section.